Hey, welcome into This Week in Indiana Football. It is Ohio State week, everybody's favorite time of the year. I am your host, John Alden, John the producer from Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Alongside with me, as always, Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com, Joe, the law firm Lincoln, he is in Bloomington, you didn't know, and the walk-on turned scholarship superstar, Mitchell Page. And I've got to say one other thing. This episode is sponsored by Outsider Coffee, by my own doing. This isn't by Dustin Schutte, but he gave me some of the wonderful Outsider light roast coffee over the weekend, and it is fabulous. It is delicious, and it has been my go-to coffee ever since. So if you need something new in your life, get yourself some Outsider Coffee.
That feels like a free ad.
It is a free ad because I got some free coffee out of it.
Okay, well, that makes one of us.
I guess Mitchell and Joe need some of their own Outsider coffee.
Now I'm going to buy some for Mitchell and Joe.
Wait, you had to buy it and send it to them?
Yeah.
What?
This isn't just a free ad. This is an ad that costs us money to promote them.
It costs me money because I work for them.
I don't have a budget.
That is crazy. All right. So
It's
we
an
need to work
exchange
on
of
how
goods.
the advertisement.
It's what Jeffrey the Greek does for his Amador whiskey on the Eyes on Big.
There you go.
Well, he
I
is a
think
good
that's
role
what he
model.
does at least.
He's a good
He said,
role
we'll
model.
talk about your whiskey if you send me a bunch of booze. So there you go. We're here to talk about football, I think. I don't know, but yeah,
Is that
there's a
what we're
lot
playing
going on. What do you say, Mitch?
Is that what we're playing these days?
Yeah, it's
I haven't been able
something.
to tell.
I've been more interested in the European style football that's going on over here in America called soccer. A team where I'm from in the Louisville area, Louisville City FC, is playing in the USL Championship this weekend. I was at the Eastern Conference Finals this past weekend, so I had a great time watching that while Penn State was taking it to Indiana on Saturday.
I've heard that stadium is electric.
Oh yeah, Lynn's
you
Family
get
Stadium.
15,000 people in there.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it
can
can
fit up
pack.
to 15,000, I believe.
Yeah, and they pack it in there.
They do, yeah.
Are they on
It
their way to
wasn't
MLS?
completely sold out this past weekend, but I mean, to have that many people in there for it to be almost sold out for a soccer game in the United States of America, and it's
In the
not even the
USL.
top level of soccer.
Exactly.
It's the second level. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm glad to have a good team to root for.
yeah. The team in here in Charleston, the Charleston Battery, are also in the USL. Yep.
That's right.
Indy 11 come down and play sometimes.
Mhm.
I've gone to check them out. For whatever reason, there's a weird connection in the Charleston Battery. I think either the manager or someone in the organization is an IU grad. So the couple of the coaches are IU guys, and they signed a kid named Joe Schmidt was an IU grad of last year, and they had 2 or 3 IU guys on the roster kind of just intermittently, whether on loan or just coming and going. It was just kind of a strange connection down here. But those games are really fun. Stadium isn't as big as that, but it's on the water, which is pretty cool.
By the look on Dustin's face, he's like, I'm going to wait until you guys are done talking about soccer. And then
Oh,
we'll move
dude.
forward.
We got the World Cup less
That's
than 2
right.
weeks away. We can
And
talk
I'm super
soccer
excited.
all afternoon. We want to talk about the MLS. United States opens with Wales. First game of the World Cup. Gareth Bale has been invisible, shell of himself for the entire season. And then all of a sudden he just sparks, and now he's back. And now the Welshman is of serious concern for back four that has not played a lot of games together for the United States, and especially some of the fullbacks that haven't gotten a lot of time, depending on what side he plays on. It could be a problem. If he's going after Anthony Robinson's been nursing an ankle. He's going to have to keep up with Gareth Bale. That could be an issue.
Here's the thing. Obviously, Indiana football is terrible right now. But I am very I'm very thankful for the amount of people that watch on YouTube, for the amount of people that listen on Spotify. Because at this point in the season, if you're watching and listening, it's not because you want to hear us talk about how who's going to start over Jack Tuttle or whatever the hell this week. You're here for the entertainment. And so that shows us that we're doing enough for you to be able to keep coming back and you're getting enjoyment out of this. So
The problem
I'm glad that we can talk about Gareth Bale winning the MLS Cup for LA FC over the weekend, and people will still.
Did you
tune
watch the
in
game?
because
No, obviously, probably didn't watch the game.
I saw what happened, but I didn't watch the game.
Dude, Philadelphia scored in extra time or in stoppage time in the second half in like the 91st minute, but something happened during stoppage time. So they added 8 minutes. It's the longest game in MLS history. And Gareth Bale scored in the 97th minute of the game to tie it. And then they went to penalties. Or it was like the
I'm just
128th
watching the
minute. It was
expression
extra time.
on Dustin and Joe's face right now. I can't help but laugh whenever listening to this conversation and watching their facial expressions.
Soccer's the best sport in the world, and it's not even close. And I'll die on that.
Joe, do you like soccer?
I get confused when it gets to be about this time. Now, I'll watch the World Cup, but at the same time, like Twitter explodes with the USMNT or whatever the hashtag is.
Yeah, there you go.
Like every time I try to decipher it, and I think it's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like that abbreviation, but it's not. It's U.S. Men's National Team.
Dude,
Yeah,
the draw,
like TMNT.
they're deciding who's on the team tomorrow night. They're picking
They
the
haven't even
squad.
picked the team.
No, they pick the squad and then they start camp. I think at the end of this week, like this weekend.
But it starts in like 12 days.
Yeah.
How do you
Yes.
not have this team figured out?
Well,
What is
It's like mid-season.
they have
right?
all these friendlies ahead of time. It's kind of like tryout games, and then they base performances off, or they base roster selections off who's hot right then and there. And obviously, there's the mainstays, but you'll get a couple young guns who are trying to get their first shot on the national team right now.
Yeah,
That kind of stuff.
biggest story in United States soccer right now. They had Miles Robinson, who's like their guy in the middle, tore his Achilles. And now they're trying to scramble. We don't know who's going to be in the center. Those are the guys at the defense, man. That's the brick wall. We'll see.
Joe, do
Matt
you
Turner.
watch soccer?
goalie,
You didn't
didn't have
answer
any
me earlier.
starts. What's that?
I said, Joe, do you watch soccer? He didn't answer earlier.
So here's the thing: I used to be a big FIFA guy back in the day, and I really got into it. I was like, man, this is awesome. This is the best thing that I've ever been a part of. Like, this is what I want to be. And then I watched American soccer, and I was like, this is not really the same thing, is it? So that kind of stopped that love affair right there. But no, I will watch the Premier League now and then and watch some talent over there. I mean, I enjoy a good Erling Haaland highlight reel. That guy's insane. We'll see what he can do. I mean, he's pretty much the only guy on his own team, so like to see him be a one-man wrecking crew. But other than that, I mean, I stick to the Americanized sports and a little bit of tennis.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
That's fair.
We're 8 minutes into the show, and we have been talking about European football. So hopefully that wet your whistle with a little positivity before we dive into the dumpster fire. How
Actually,
negative
I
are
wanna
we
say-
allowed to be?
I want to say one
without
more
people
thing.
thinking we're
You just
trolling?
reminded me. This is a little dig at myself.
Sure.
Have I talked about this before? We said European football, which made me think of my time going over to Europe to play actually like American football. The team that I was on in Austria, the Vienna Vikings, when I was on the team, we did not win the championship. I leave. They join a bigger league and win the championship.
Well,
So
were they bad when you played for them?
they got better when I left, which that was tough for me. I don't think we talked about that at all.
Could the Vienna Vikings beat the Indiana Hoosiers? A lot
No,
of silence here.
no. We still got some guys. We just, I don't know. We can't get out of our own way, man. We got. I think I said this last week. It just feels like we have no plan. We never. I don't know. We'll just dive into it. Like the way that the dog's coming. You're good. The way that the quarterback situation was handled this week, where he didn't just outright say Tuttle was hurt. He said, "Oh, we'll have to wait till Saturday to see who plays." And then he starts Tuttle, who's in the transfer portal. Then he goes to Brendan Sorsby, that's fine. Go to Sorsby. If that's the guy, none of us are at practice. If he's playing better, he's playing better. That's great. But to put him in the game for 2 series, make a freshman mistake behind a line that doesn't touch a soul when the game's already moving a million miles an hour for a first-time quarterback in the Big Ten, and then pull him was shot. I mean, the kid's confidence is shot. It's done. It's quarterback and kicker. Those 2 guys, it's all momentum, rhythm, and confidence. And you essentially just kill that kid's confidence for at least the next year, probably 2. Next time he gets in there, he's going to be shaking like none other. I would be shocked if he's ever in the 2 deep again, just because of how that situation played itself out, where you get 2 series, throw a pick, and you're done forever. Bright side is Dexter Williams, I thought, was okay. He's not very accurate, but he's still young and can move a little bit. I thought he could maybe get out of the pocket. We'll see. But it was so strange. Just really, really felt like they didn't have a plan before the game on what was going to happen for the quarterbacks. They just
the thing is, if he is obviously based on the fact that Brendan Sorsby was the guy they went to before Dexter Williams, you don't know what your future is at quarterback, or at least Tom Allen or Walt Bell haven't decided what that future is.
No.
But you've got to pick a lane and stay in it for at least a little bit.
Yeah.
You're not going to have Bays, like you're not going to have Tuttle, and honestly, it doesn't matter. It's not like they're breaking records or anything right now anyway. So whoever your future guy is, at this point in the season, when you're not going to make a bowl game, when obviously you don't want to lose everything if you can help it, it's like whenever they put Donovan McCulley in during a couple of games last season to see how that was going to go. And he did the entire Maryland game and things looked decent. I know he moved to wide receiver in the long run, but why don't you just give someone a chance for the rest of the season? Or even, I mean, is 2 guys too much? If obviously I'm not one of the coaches, so I'm just kind of spinning my wheels here, but it seems like you've got to choose a lane and give it more time, because obviously they didn't have a game plan for what was going wrong against Penn State.
I mean, they haven't really had a game plan all season long. Outside of the first, they've been so inconsistent throughout the course of games. The one thing to me that was really disappointing, I've mentioned this on Indiana Sports Beat probably every day, and I sound like a broken record. The thing that's disappointing to me is every game, at the very least, I never felt like Indiana quit, or I never felt like they rolled over. Like even in the Michigan game, they had their chances to tie it up. The Cincinnati game was a little bit different. They got down big. They came back a little bit, but that was maybe the best example or the worst example. But in every other game, I felt like they've been very competitive. This week against Penn State, like they rolled over. They didn't care. They could not get back to the locker room quick enough. And I thought that after Penn State's coming off an emotional week, lost a big game to Ohio State, I thought they had a chance to take advantage, and they just didn't. They got outclassed. And when that score got even the slightest bit out of hand, I thought Indiana rolled the helmets out and they were done.
Joe, let's hear it. What did it feel like?
It was weird. It was a weird game day feeling. I mean, I don't know if anybody was up here for the game, but it was real windy.
Absolutely.
It was real dark, cloudy. There was a lot of, just not great vibes going around. Tailgates weren't really happening. They banned tents from the tailgate, which was weird. Never seen that happen before because they kept blowing away. So that was another thing that was kind of just
that kind of becomes like a weapon, though. I read that, and the image in my head was actually pretty terrifying. Just like flying, impaling someone. You can't have that.
It can get bad. Let's just say that was the beginning of the end for Indiana football this weekend. I don't know. The first quarter was, you saw a little bit of something. You knew that Penn State was going to come out angry. I think we talked about that last week. Obviously, a tough game against Ohio State. Dustin already touched on this, but Indiana knew they were going to run into a buzzsaw and didn't seem like they knew that in the beginning of the game when they absolutely should have. I mean, I don't know what else you should be expecting from a team like that who feels slighted by their own fan base a little bit, who's been disappointed with them for, I think it's pretty unreasonable for that fan base in the first. That's another story for another day, though. I think IU was pretty unprepared in that sense of knowing what they were going to go up against. And that's obviously disappointing to see as a fan, because it's just, that there's that unpreparedness. And this deep into the season, that should be an afterthought, being prepared for the team you're playing. I mean, it's just bad. And it only continued to get worse. Penn State absolutely executed every aspect of that game plan and didn't seem to have any trouble doing it. So, it's just week after week, it seems like it's just going even further downhill. So I don't really know what to expect anymore, but I don't know. Maybe there will be some surprises in these last couple games. But
I guess the question right now, though, is if you're a recruit, how do you sell coming to Indiana?
And from what I understand, I think Mitchell actually got a recruiting pitch today at some point that he was going to share with us.
Yeah, this came from one of the coaches. It was definitely not from anyone on this podcast. It just came from one of the coaches. This is what your future could be. So I think that we're going to set this up this way, because Indiana, I don't know how as a coach you go into somebody, you're preaching on what could be, right? You're not talking, you definitely don't tell them what time the game is next week. You say you're on a bye or you're on vacation. You tell them, do not watch that game. We don't play, I promise. So you're pitching what could be, and in particular, if you were an offensive player, what has been in the past. Because I think in Indiana, when you ask around the country, the standard is still offense. Never really, at least in the past 10 years, defense has shined in 1 or 2 years, but statistically, we are kind of talking, Indiana falls in the lower 10% of total defense, but have been able to keep themselves in games and keep fans engaged because of explosive offense. And I think that a pitch geared towards a receiver, I was really excited to get this. So I haven't seen it. I don't think any of us have seen it. Dustin definitely hasn't seen it.
No.
So I guess we're going to fire it up. Let's see what you got, Joe.
All right, Mitchell, coach here. Look, I got a lot going on today, so I'm just going to make this pitch real nice and easy for you today, okay? By the end of this, you're going to be signing that national letter of intent on the dotted line. First of all, you might be asking yourself, why does he have a southern accent? Number one, it's the accent of winners, and number two, I really like it. So 3 things stood out to me when I was watching your film, son. Size, athleticism, and your darn name. First of all, pretty small, so I don't think the defenders are going to be able to see you when you got the ball in your hands. Advantage, Indiana Hoosiers. Athleticism, I saw some of that speed. You're as quick as a hiccup, son. And then the name. I mean, just so many great things about that name. First off, you may not have known this, but the former governor of Indiana was a Mitchell. Mitch Daniels.
Mitch Daniels.
Maybe you could get a nickname,
here in Indiana, in Bloomington.
Mitch, the governor.
Mitch, the governor.
He's the president at Purdue. Well, why didn't somebody tell me these things before I start these videos? I don't know how to delete it. All right, forget I said that. No, you know what, Mitchell the governor page still sounds good. Another thing I like, do you know where Indiana plays? Memorial Stadium. You know what we call that here in Bloomington? The Rock. That's right. Yeah, the Rock. You know what a page is usually made out of? Paper, right? Rock, paper. So I'm going with this. Rock, paper, Mitchell. Now, ironically, there was a guy also named Mitchell Page who played here a couple of years ago, and I got to be honest with you, one of the stars of this team, catching touchdown passes against Michigan State. Roll film.
Second down. Open look at Page. Touchdown, Indiana.
Taking it to the house against Purdue. Roll film.
Third down. 3rd and 11. Sudfeld looking for Page, and he's got it. What a catch. Touchdown, Indiana.
Returning damn punts against the damn University of Michigan. Roll damn film.
And we'll see where field position ends up for Indiana. A kick to midfield. Returnable for Mitchell Page. Looking for room. Keeping it alive. Breaking tackles. Mitchell Page down the sideline. Touchdown.
That could be you, Mitchell. That could be you. You could be Mitchell Page, part 2. And I'm also going to level with you. We are not very good at the wide receiver position right now, and we desperately need anybody that knows how to catch a pass. I'm going to level with you. We don't have receivers on this team. I don't know they can catch Cole right now. And we still got one damn goal in mind here at Indiana. I mean, yeah, this one is from when Ohio State won it, one of the 300 times they won it. So I don't have a hat with Indiana, but that's why you're coming here, because we need you to win that Big Ten championship, son. So, Mitchell, I hope you'll consider Indiana University and write your own page in the history of Hoosier football.
Wow, that guy is very convincing. I liked all the puns he had ready. The film. That guy, recruiting coordinator of the year, 24/7 Sports, on 3, rivals.com. I'm sold.
That was phenomenal.
That was me.
That was so good.
I don't even know what to say. Like I said, none of us had seen that, and I'm speechless. I couldn't stop laughing during that entire thing.
That was so good. And you made some good points. The calling me little was hilarious. When you said size is one of them, now listen, you're not very big. That is unbelievable. That took a lot of time. I appreciate Coach putting that together. Again, it was not Dustin.
No.
I was pretty down after watching them last week. You know, I was not very high on the Hoosiers, but with a pitch like that, you know, I want to be that guy. I want to be the name that they're calling out in the beautiful Memorial Stadium. That stadium does look good. It really does.
It does. The only thing, okay, I'd like to add, the only thing I want to see Script Indiana in the end zone.
God, has to.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Red end zone, white Script Indiana. Beautiful.
Script Indiana needs to be the default for everything. That Script Indiana looks so good. We had it on the helmets. Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Kevin Wilson, for that. Big stuff.
I don't even know how to top.
Whoa.
I think we could. I mean, we're not going to, but we could end the podcast right now, and that would be all in a day's
100%.
I think that should be the promo for this week's. I think this should be the promo for this week's episode. Don't use your standard graphic. We just use that.
Yeah, I'll get a couple seconds of it, and that might be how we promote the show this week. Yeah,
love it.
That was so good.
And speaking of that, what's going to be our hashtag or whatever we usually do? We haven't been getting responses recently, by the way, so maybe people have quit watching or watching all the way through.
I was going to say, it was kind of funny when you said, we appreciate your watching because you're not coming for Indiana now. We're going to get 0 views. So we appreciate everybody that's watching, and there's just not a single person that watches. But at least
the numbers really are consistent in the Dude, it's not like we're getting thousands of views, but we're getting somewhere between like 40 and 50.
Count it. That works for me.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We don't need to talk about Indiana versus Ohio State because we sure as hell know what's going to happen. Before the last 2 seasons of Indiana football, or what we know now as Indiana football, it wouldn't matter who Indiana was playing. You knew they were going to be competitive. This week, I am 100% confident that this is not going to be competitive. And I hate to say that, but there doesn't need to be a single fan in Memorial Stadium to know that that's going to happen.
Yeah. Say less. Is this game?
And normally I don't do. Oh, it's at Ohio State. It wouldn't matter where it was played, though.
I'm honestly happy that it's at Ohio State. It would. Speaking of recruiting, it would likely be a very bad look.
Yes.
I guess it would be all red. Ohio
It's
State.
usually the photo op. Usually the photo op's good, right? It's what's going on right
Yeah,
behind
but
it. We
in
talked
those
about
games,
this before.
at least half of it was Indiana.
Because they were competitive.
100%.
I mean, obviously we saw what happened when they faced Northwestern last week, and it was, I know the conditions weren't the best, but the only thing that is going to keep Indiana in this game is if Ohio State just doesn't give a shit. That's really what it comes down to.
Did it feel like the Ohio State Northwestern game was competitive to you? It did not to me. The score was 14-7 or whatever it was, and it felt like Ohio State was up by a million.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think you're right because you knew Northwestern wasn't very good.
Yeah,
But
it
at
was
the same
inevitable.
time, you just waited for Ohio State to bust the big play, and they just couldn't do it. Which,
They
by
just
the
didn't.
way, fortunately enough for Northwestern, they've dialed up some perfect weather to not suffer 2 ass beatings at the hands of Ohio State and Penn State because they played that monsoon game and only lost by 10 to Penn State. So they had a monsoon the first game against Penn State, and then they had 40-mile-an-hour winds in this game. So I don't know. Maybe Indiana can dial up some of that weather where it's impossible for Ohio State to throw. So maybe they'll only lose like 28-7.
Yeah, dial up a running clock, get our clock operator in there, and just take seconds away. This one's going to be ugly. We certainly haven't seen anything to suggest otherwise. Ineffectiveness on offense, defense. The punter's good. Our punter is good. So
James
I don't want,
Evans, and he's a young punter. He'll be around for a little bit.
yeah, and we returned a kick for a touchdown, so we can't say special teams. Special teams have been fairly effective. Other than
Also a young gun.
yeah, the only problem that not with Indiana specifically, when you watch college football as a whole, it is amazing how many teams, good teams, have guys back there returning punts that are just terrible. Dropping the ball, not catching punts that you should just run up and catch, and you lose 30 yards of field position. That's game-changing plays. Fair catch. Indiana earlier in the season had a couple fair catches on our own 3-yard line. Like, that is really not that hard of a position to play. Why is that so difficult around the country? I certainly don't understand it. You just go back there and catch the ball. That's it.
I mean, obviously it's a simple concept, but I mean, I feel like most people or most teams, especially if they're not putting scholarship players there. I mean, you're seeing guys who don't catch balls often. They're like, aren't they second or third on the depth chart to where they're not even really seeing the field as much? And so that's their way of getting
I was a
playing
starting
time.
receiver. When I
But
did
see,
it,
but that's because they cared about it. It's like I know Tom Allen gives a scholarship to his long snapper and his maybe even the punter. I don't really know how it normally works.
Yeah,
for certain
most
teams, but
most teams do. The starters are on scholarship. Most,
okay.
unless
Even
the kid got
new
beat out.
special teams was kind of hit or miss depending on what position it was.
Long snapper, somewhat. Really, if a walk-on is starting, typically that kid beat out the scholarship kid in fall camp. They usually carry a scholarship punter, kicker, and long snapper, unless one of them is just terrible. Like if they're just using some random dude to snap it, but you wouldn't see that probably in major college football. They're generally on scholarship.
Well, let's go ahead and move this train forward. Who's ready for pick'ems? I mean, what else is there to say? Any other thoughts on Indiana, Ohio State that we need to get out of our system? Here's the thing. We don't want to be too negative. Before the show, choice things were said, especially the worse that this season gets, the longer we take previewing what we're going to talk about before we actually talk about it and getting I don't want to say anger, but just getting all the thoughts that we can't necessarily say over the air out first.
Yeah,
because that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, there hasn't really been a lot of positives. It's been a dark, gloomy season. Season number 2. I would argue that this season has been worse than last year. At least a couple times last year, you could point to some games where, I think of Cincinnati, where you're like, okay, we kind of got screwed. And then as the season went on, it's like, oh, we've given up. We're just not trying. We're just looking to next year. This year, it feels like, or I guess let me put it this way. Last year felt like rock bottom, and we are going to rebound. Now I don't know where the bottom is.
Yeah.
We might still be falling.
There was the grace period last year because of what happened the year before. It was like, okay, some unfortunate things happened, and now everything's spiraling out of control. They'll figure it out, but they haven't figured it out, is where we're at.
Yeah, it's gotten worse. This team is significantly worse than last year's.
I guess on paper, you're probably right, because last year you had the pieces from 2020, and those pieces just didn't come to fruition, and then there was injuries as well. So anyway, yeah, Joe, Mr. Joe, the law firm, what's our updated pick'em standings?
All right. So hurtling back into the number one position is yours truly. So I'm pretty pleased about that. In number two, back, I'm trying to remember who was in last place last week. I think it was Dustin, actually.
It was Dustin. Yeah.
I went on that. Yeah. So Mitch, I think you retained your number two spot this week. So it's me, then you, and then John and Dustin are actually in a dead tie for third and fourth. So, but I've actually given myself. What's that?
How many picks are between first and last?
So there are 3 picks in between first and last. There's actually 2 in between first and second. So I've given myself the first real buffer in like the last couple weeks. So now that being said, I'm going to lose every pick this week. So we'll see. But
all you
I'm
have to do is
Indiana to beat Ohio State, so you're getting at least one.
all right.
Ride or die, baby.
Ride or die. You've died a lot.
Died 6 straight.
Hey, Indiana will die 9 times if they're 3-9, so that you'll be as bad as a cat if that ends up happening.
Yeah, cats officially die at 9. Humans only get 1, and I'm on 6, so we're already outliving the expectancy.
All right, let's move forward here. Our first game for, what is this, week 11? Week 11 pick'ems. We have number 16 Illinois, who unfortunately for Indiana fans, they can no longer say they're the only team that beat Illinois. They lost to Michigan State last week. They take on the Purdue Boilermakers at home. The Illini are 6.5-point favorites with the over-under set at 44.5. Dustin, what's going to happen in this game?
I don't know. Purdue's kind of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I don't know. The Illinois loss was kind of funky, but over the course of a season, you're likely to drop a few funky games here or there, especially when you're a program still kind of on the rise. But I think Illinois will bounce back this week. I don't suspect Purdue's going to have much of an answer for Chase Brown. I think Illinois' pass defense and their run defense is really good. I think they'll be able to shut down Purdue's offense, much like Iowa did. So I think it'll be probably a more competitive game than the Iowa-Purdue game was. But what was the spread? I think Illinois wins, but what was
6.5 for Illinois?
I hate that line. Give me Illinois to cover that.
Okay.
all right, let's see. It really hurt my heart to see Illinois lose last week. I've got to be completely transparent with you fellas. I was watching that game and I was thinking the whole time that they were just going to come back and win in the very end. But a lot of credit to Michigan State and Mel Tucker after whatever happened the week before. For them to pull out a win like that is really incredible. So that was a really good, well-coached game by Mel Tucker, and they went out and won that one. But nevertheless, I am still going to go with Illinois this week because I think Purdue is, like we've said, they've been up and down, but I think that they're kind of wavering a little bit right now. And I think Illinois is going to want some good energy this week after a bad week last week. So I've got them covering.
I think Purdue covers. I actually think Purdue wins outright.
Wow.
And that's not really based on anything, but it's kind of what I say every week, where if Purdue's playing, I don't know, Northwestern, I think Northwestern may beat Purdue, but Illinois is a good team and Purdue generally shows up for good teams. So
they play their competition.
They're just going to win outright.
Yeah. Fair assessment. I do fall more along the lines of Illinois is going to rebound, especially at home. So I'm taking the Illini to cover as well. Next up, Michigan State, the team that beat Illinois, hosts Rutgers. They are 10-point favorites with the over-under set at 40.5. Dustin.
This is a desperation game for both teams. Both teams 4-5, some bowl eligibility potentially on the line here. Damn.
It's the Church of Chop versus.
I know
the
these
Cigar.
are tough. These are really difficult lines. Vegas did a good job this week. I'm gonna give me Rutgers in the points. I don't like 10 points for Michigan State. Wait. Hold on. Where's that game played?
It's at Michigan State.
Okay, give me. I'll take Michigan State. I want Michigan State now.
I am also going to take Michigan State, but for a completely different reason. If you look at the stats from last week's game against Michigan, 38 straight points in the second half to Michigan. That's bad. And they're going up against a Michigan State team who has a lot of momentum from last week already. Don't think that bodes well, and they're on the road. I think Michigan State covers.
Me too. Michigan State's got good players, man. They've just been terrible all year.
Good suspended players.
Ooh.
Yeah. Are they still suspended?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do the same thing that Dustin just did. Give me Rutgers.
No, he took Michigan State.
Yeah, I know. But he flopped at the 11th hour. I'm flopping.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to take Michigan State. I think they'll ride the momentum from their big road victory over Illinois because they'll know that this Rutgers game is definitely winnable as well. So give me the Spartans to cover that one. I don't know how confident I am, but I'm going to take them. Next up, we have Nebraska at number 5, Michigan. Michigan is 29.5-point favorites, over under at 49.5.
What was the spread again?
29.5. Dustin's struggling this week. Usually he's got him ready to roll. But sometimes he's also already done the Eyes on Big podcast.
I have not done it.
He had to make his picks.
Yeah. This is the first time I'm hearing these. Gosh, 29.5. Here, man, because I don't think Nebraska's going to get beat by that much. But the line is saying otherwise, right? Like,
yeah,
I liked it better. I liked it better when every game that Nebraska was in last year was like a 9-point spread, and you knew they were going to cover. Golly, give me Nebraska. 29.5 points is a lot.
Yeah. Mitchell's shaking his head. No, it needs to be more.
All right, so Nebraska has, under Mickey Joseph, Nebraska has rarely let me down covering the spread, win or lose. So I'm
Joe, you give us the best stuff. You do the best research. I'm sorry, I'll let you continue, but you've always got great answers.
Way better than me.
Hey, I got to be honest. This is all last-ditch effort, but I think back to the last weeks, and I think that under Mickey Joseph, they have been a team that can cover the spread. And I think they do that again. So I am going to take Nebraska to cover this game. And also, Michigan has done this little like bunny rabbit out of the hat thing in the second half for the last like 4 games where they've covered that way. That's got to stop at some point, and I think it's this week.
Yeah, not this week. Nebraska stinks. That's my in-depth research analysis.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Nebraska will keep this closer than the spread, but they're not going to pull this one off, obviously. But so give me Michigan to win and not cover in that one. All right, a few more games. Maryland at number 15, Penn State. Another tough one probably for Dustin, I would assume. 10 points for Penn State, over under at 59.
Yeah, that's pretty much spot on. Maryland couldn't really do anything against Wisconsin's defense last week, and I think Penn State's defense is very similar. I think because it's a rivalry game, because Maryland is going to play with a little bit of pride here, I think you're going to see something from the Terps. I think Penn State wins, but I'll take Maryland to cover this one. I'm going to go 0 for this week. I freaking know it.
I don't know. I think Michigan's or Penn State rather is obviously they have all the confidence in the world after playing I don't even know
punching bag of the Big Ten East.
But yeah, they're still riding that wave. I think Maryland's Taulia's been back. He was back last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got him back. I like that offense a lot still. But I think 10 points is going to be doable, so I'll take Penn State to cover.
Penn State as well. Yeah,
That's right.
that's it.
That's it from Mitch. I think Penn State covers, riding the momentum. Why not? Maryland's decent, but not good enough. All right. Couple more. 3 more, actually. Northwestern at Minnesota. Minnesota 17.5-point favorites. Over-under at 41.
Yep. I like Minnesota in this one, unless it's going to be like some sort of tsunami or snowstorm or windstorm. I just think Minnesota can run the ball. They can shut down Northwestern, their offense. I think it's going to be like one of those games where Minnesota scores 7 points, like 5 minutes left to go in the first quarter, then gets another touchdown. Like, it's just like a slow, painful death for Northwestern.
Yeah. I have hated on Northwestern on this show a good amount of times. Don't know why, but this week they are speaking to me and saying that Pat Fitzgerald has been a head coach for a while and he can show up in the games that he really needs to possibly save his job. I think that's one this week. I don't think they win the game. I do think they cover, though.
Okay. I think that
All right. No.
You just cut me off.
I'm used to the one-word answers from Mitch right now.
I didn't get any analysis so far. I'm gonna do some analyzation.
I like it.
And it's gonna be really short. I just think you're getting a lot of value for Minnesota right now. And I don't think it's Vegas necessarily, but that line tells me that somebody watched Northwestern play Ohio State in nonsense, and Ohio State just putter around, essentially. I think if Ohio State hadn't happened, this line would be 25, and I would probably still take Minnesota. So I'm taking Minnesota. You're getting really good value for the Gophers. And generally when you're getting good value, you get slapped in the face and you're wrong. So
what he's saying is bet the mortgage on Minnesota.
I already did.
There you go. I'm going to do the same thing. You might see me in a brand. You're going to see me either in a brand new house next week or in a box. One of the two.
Well, it'll be a brand new house no matter what.
That's true. All right. Oh, everyone's favorite matchup. You all haven't looked at the spread for Indiana Ohio State yet, right?
Oh, I've looked at it.
I see it.
Well, Mitchell, you can't answer. Well, Joe, you haven't seen it?
No, I have.
I've seen it.
Well, I can't ask you what you think it is then. That was what I was going to do. But all right, we've got Indiana at number 2, Ohio State. Ohio State is 40-point favorites, everyone. 40-point favorites at the Horseshoe. The over-under set at 57.5. Let's give our scores, guys. Dustin.
Okay, first of all, let me just say this. If you are in more than your first year as the head coach of a Power 5 program and you're a 40-point underdog to anybody, I feel like you should have to coach the game in your underwear or something. It's just embarrassing to have to do this. First year, okay, we'll give you a pass. You might take over a new team. When you're in your, 6th year, that's unacceptable. I think Indiana will maybe get a touchdown early in the game and then maybe a junk touchdown late. So I'll go Ohio State 52, Indiana 14. So that is 38 points. So I guess technically that's an Indiana cover.
Wow. Great teams cover, right?
That's right.
All right. So I gave Indiana way too much credit last week, and they got blown out of the water. Not going to make that mistake again. So I guess I just really made up for it this week. I said Ohio State 49-7.
That's my
That
score.
might be a
I'll
little
change it
outrageous.
now.
So I don't know. That's just what I'm feeling right now, though.
Okay. I've got kind of a unique score. I think Indiana wins 9-4. And the buses from the hotel get stuck in like a lot of traffic for Ohio State. So they can't play. So Indiana plays the third string guys from Ohio State. We have a quarterback that runs around and gets tackled in the end zone twice. But we're able to do some things to get 3 field goals, and we win 9-4.
Wow. All right, so since Joe took my initial 49-7, I guess I'll just take 1 point away and give Ohio State the 49-6 victory.
I like that you took the point away from Indiana, not Ohio State.
Because here's my thing. I'm like, what's more realistic? Indiana's going to go for 2, or they're going to kick 2 field goals?
I think they're going to get 2 safeties is what I think is most realistic. I think if what my brain tells me is this game is going to be 70-0.
I tell you what, if this game is 70-0, I mean, do you let Tom Allen make it back to Bloomington? I mean, I hate to.
John, are you setting up a GoFundMe after that for the buyout?
70-0 would be tough. That's a tough pill. That's so many touchdowns.
That's 10 touchdowns. You didn't score. I mean, here's 70-0 is it shows that all systems are failing. You have 0 offense. You're built off of a defense that's supposed to be this, get all these takeaways, get extra possessions, but you give up 70 points. I mean, at that point, all systems have failed. What else is there left to do? Give the guys money and leave.
Of anyone on their schedule, Indiana matches up the worst with Ohio State.
If it's 70-0, then that's the first thing we're talking about next week. And who knows what the hell we're talking about? I mean, I'm being dead serious. If it's 70-0, it wouldn't surprise me if Tom Allen's not the head coach anymore before we record this next week. I mean, that's just
I'm moving to the mountains and changing my name if it's 70-0.
All right. We got one more game to talk about. It's what I think is the Big Ten game of the week. It is Wisconsin at Iowa, where Wisconsin is a 1.5-point favorite on the road. And the over-under set at 35. Mr. Shooty.
Yeah. This game has like 7-6 written all over it. Having said that, I feel like there are going to be some points here. I think Iowa's found a little bit of something. They've got some confidence. As Mitchell said, quarterback is all confidence. He's been able to throw the ball the last 2 weeks. Maybe he's gotten into a little bit of a rhythm there.
Maybe he came back to Charleston for a visit.
And he ran into some jerk who didn't know who he was.
Acted like he didn't know who he was. Or maybe he ran into somebody that was just all about him and just couldn't believe it was the real Spencer Petras.
Do
I take the blame from Iowa fans for what has happened?
You should.
I mean, I feel like that's taking a lot of credit, but that's a significant. He did not like it.
Big Ten was Defensive Coordinator of the Year, Mitchell Page.
Love it.
Wisconsin has looked really good since their bye week, and they should have beat Michigan State. They should be 4-0 under Jim Leonard. The games at Iowa, I like Wisconsin in this game. I think Wisconsin's defense is starting to find its groove. I think they have a few more weapons offensively. I think Graham Mertz is ever so slightly better than Spencer Petras. So for that reason, I like Wisconsin. And I'm going to give you a score. I'm sticking with 7-6. It's probably going to end up being like 20-17, but I like 7-6. So I'm sticking with it.
Well, then you're taking Iowa because the spread's 1.5.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm taking Wisconsin to win, but Iowa to cover.
Okay.
All right, hold on. Let me fix my sheet.
I feel like Jim Leonard would be sick to play for.
As in good?
Oh,
or?
Yeah,
Jim Leonard sounds like the name of a frog.
He played safe. I'm not going to respond to that. Yeah, I am. I'm going to respond to that. Why does it sound like the name of a frog? What
Well,
part of that
as I said that, I had to think in my mind why I was
it
thinking that. Because
does.
I think I'm thinking of Jim Henson, which is the creator of Kermit the Frog.
Oh, there you go.
Well, Jim Leonard might live down the road from Kermit. Like, Jim Leonard sounds like he hangs out with Lemony Snicket. So I was going to make fun of you, but now I'm definitely on your train. I think Jim Leonard is just the next animated Disney frog. That's a hilarious name for a frog.
That is a good name. Yeah. Now we know. There's your hashtag.
Yeah, right.
I had a different one, but maybe we'll have to go with that. Where are we at on picks? Are you up, Mitchell?
Joe's up.
No, it's
Joe's
me.
up.
Okay. With new insight that Jim Leonard could be cast by Disney in the next couple months, I might have to change the pick here. But I won't, because I think that honestly Wisconsin being covered in this game is blasphemous, or being favored in this game is blasphemous. I think the Kinnick Stadium is a heck of a place to play, and I think that Graham Mertz has shown time and time again that he cannot handle the pressure of Big Ten crowds. I mean, it doesn't add up well in my head for Wisconsin to be favored in this game for any reason, and I think that Iowa's offense has shown that they can score the past couple weeks at least. They didn't need to score any more than 24 points against Purdue, and they held them to one score. That is a heck of a ball game. They're riding momentum. They're back at home. Give me the Hawks to cover.
I'm going to agree. And what I'm thinking as I'm sitting here is this game set up so perfectly. It would have been so massive if both of these teams were kind of the normal caliber that they are. This late in the season at Kinnick, gets a little chilly. This game would have been absolutely electric. It's not, because they aren't good, but it just gives me chills thinking about how cool that game could have been. But I'm going to take Iowa as well. I think their defense is really good. Wisconsin's offense is whatever, and you just find a couple points here and there if you're Iowa and rely on the defense like you have. Wisconsin isn't overly explosive. I know they've got a good running back, but that's kind of all we've seen out of them. So, yeah, Iowa to cover. Iowa to win by 6 or 7.
Yeah, Kinnick is probably the most underrated home field advantage in the Big Ten. If I
agree, 100%.
Give that to somebody. So, based on everything you all said on top of that, I'm taking Iowa to win, aka that means they're covering as well. So,
AKA.
Yeah. If you've made it all the way to the end of this tragic episode of This Week in Indiana Football, just remember, paper covers rock. Paper covers rock. Put that in the comments. Tweet that at us. Tweet it at Mitchell, because we need Mitchell back at Indiana University next year to play for the Hoosiers. So another fun episode, even though we try to have fun, even though there's tons of things to be concerned about for Indiana football. But we'll be back again next week. We're chugging along through another tragic season of Indiana Hoosiers football, but
we're here for the people, baby.
We're here for you guys. We have fun doing it, and as always, check out Indiana Sports Beat Radio on YouTube and on his radio affiliates, and drink Outsider Coffee. We'll see you next time for This Week in Indiana Football.